there's a lot of potential for harm to be done to this park by building a physical wall here.
One of President Trump's first executive orders will be to fulfill his promise to build a border wall. But what does that mean for West Texas? To explore that part of the answer, CBS 7's Julia Thatcher headed to the heart of the Big Bend National Park, where the Mexican border and the Rio Grande River carve right through federal lands.
Sun rises on the Big Bend National Park. The over 800,000-acre park ecosystem reaches across 2 countries. It's one of 2 national parks whose ecosystem doesn't stop where the borderline is drawn. You can see on a map on the Mexico side, Big Bend is also a national park. The park was originally meant to unite 2 different countries as an international park.
And I believe it was Roosevelt that said that this Big Bend idea would not be complete until it was an international park. But that has not come to pass yet.
2 presidents with 2 different outlooks on international borders.
Right in front of us here we have the Rio Grande, and the deepest channel of the river is the international border. So just the other side over there, that's Mexico.
Just 5 days after taking office, President Donald Trump signed immigration actions to have a wall erected between the U.S. and Mexico. That may be easier said than done.
Well, I'm no engineer, but I think the logistics of building a wall either in the river, on the international border, or on the river's edge is going to take quite a bit of planning, that's for sure. It's definitely going to take some American engineering.
Meaning this view may be changing soon.
The fact that we also have tourists that have come here to the park especially to see it before a border wall gets built is something worth talking about.
Currently, people can cross into Boquillas, Mexico by boat, but that also means it's just as easy for those to cross into America. In 2015, just over 7,000 people crossed into the United States using the Boquillas port of entry. To compare, that same year, over 2 million people crossed in Presidio. And though only separated by a river, Big Bend National Park has some of the lowest numbers of illegal immigrants crossing into the country.
You think about walking a couple of days across this rugged wilderness of a desert. It's difficult.
I wanted to see what would be on the other side of the wall, but getting there isn't as simple as you might think. The journey requires a boat ride across the Rio Grande and a horseback ride into town. The tiny town of Boquillas can be seen in the national park. Tourists often cross the border to go for lunch. That's where I found Lilia Falcone. She's the manager of Jose Falcone's. She says the border hasn't always been open like this. After 9/11, the port of entry was closed, and when it did, so did a lot of businesses in Boquillas that were supported by tourism, including the one run by her family.
My mother had been here so many years, working with my father. And then they say the border is closed, no more business, so we don't get national tourists, so we had to close it, looking for jobs somewhere else.
But for Lilia, she says she gets it.
I understand there's places where you do need to secure the border.
But not here.
We have a nice river. We have beautiful mountains. And the wall is just gonna look ugly right there. And it might ruin a lot of the natural scenery that we have.
And whether you're for or against the wall, the number one concern people had that I spoke with was about preserving and protecting this beautiful state park for people to enjoy for years to come.
Don't do it.
A lot of questions that need to be answered.
Building a wall is not a solution.
There's a lot of hate behind the wall.
And with Mexico being so close, there are people who want the wall and think it's necessary.
People have got to wake up. They've got to wake up. We live in a dangerous time. We have dangers all around us. They have to be addressed and they have to be stopped. They must be controlled. The only way to do that is start with the border, control the border.
Sheriff Painter used to patrol the Presidio border. He says alternative options like increased patrols won't work.
Grow up. We have to have a wall. It has to be protecting the United States citizens. It has to be protecting our country. After it gets built, if they want to draw something on it, put some pretty leaves or some flowers or something on it, they can do that. That'd be great. It would make it pretty. But it has to be a physical wall. We need security. That is the most important, and most imperative thing right now.
Park rangers are hoping for a compromise.
Finding those compromises in order to make a remote desert park like Big Bend work. Yeah, those are the fine lines for sure.
No matter what happens, for now, the sun sets on the mountains that cut between two countries, unobscured by the shadow of a wall. In Big Bend, Julia Thatcher, CBS 7 News.